Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another Gooner Gathering. I am your host, I am Lee, and today I am joined by the very knowledgeable and very talented Matt Roberts. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. A little bit sad about the news today. That's been a bit breaking, but I'm slowly getting over it and just enjoying the day as it is. How about you?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Not too bad. It's been a busy day in the day job, but much like you, I was very stunned when my phone buzzed to find the news that long-standing Arsenal legend, 12 years at the club, Jordon Nobbs, has permanently left the club to join Aston Villa. Came as a massive surprise to me. I mean, I didn't see this coming at all. I sort of can break down some figures for us, and I'm going to put up a very nice picture which I have found from the Arsenal Twitter there. So I think that's quite suitable there with all the trophies. Um, Jordan has had 270 appearances for the Arsenal, um, 81 goals, and she has won a huge amount of titles. We'll, we'll rush through this a little bit. League titles in 2011, 12, and 19. Four FA Cups, five League Cups. She's been a full England international since 2013. 69 caps and eight goals. Of course, part of the England ladies side that finished third in the World Cup in 2015. Of course, she missed the Euros in the summer through the ACL injury, didn't she?
hmm
Um, so yes, it was a massive surprise to see her leave. I thought maybe your initial reactions first and foremost, mate.
I kind of didn't see this happening. I think there was a few speculations along with some of the fans where they thinking was Jordan going to go. Her contract was up in the summer. Maybe people were thinking about that. A lot of people were thinking about the homegrown quota as well because if you don't have a full squad, which we don't at the moment, we have 23. Now it's down to 22. You can only have 7 players. So we now don't have a homegrown quota. We've now got to bring in someone unless they are the age of 18 from the youth academy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, none of them are. So we can't do that. The only positive is it means we have to do more business in the January window, homegrown quota wise.
Yeah.
Um, but the important thing is that I think a lot of people were sort of suspecting because she was crying after the Zurich game, which ended up being her last game for us. Um,
Oh,
yeah, away at Zurich just before the Christmas break.
that was the 9-1 game, right?
Yes.
Yes. I've been doing my research, Matt. Don't worry, mate.
Um, it was one of those ones where you think I'm kind of hoping that you push on now and you can carry on. But if it was to happen,
Mm.
you kind of accept it, but it kind of hurts a little bit. I was just thinking back on this. She spent 13 years, well, 11 years with the club. That's basically she's been there since in from primary school all the way to upper school.
Mm.
And basically you've done 1 year of A levels or you've gone off to college. That's a long time to spend at a club. And she's said in a note as well. I think the note actually set off a lot of people as well. It's kind of set me off a little bit now.
Mm.
Um, but the fact is that she's been through everything, through the injuries that she's had multiple times. She's missed out on squads, European championships, World Cups because of the odd injury. Um, Actually, funny enough, when we did that watch along for
Remember it.
Cannon Chatter, just when you saw her on the floor, you thought, not now, not when she was on a roll, she was doing really well, and she was doing everything that she could possibly do to try and get herself noticed, and just like that, she was injured again. I kind of feel like it's kind of a bit of a relief for her as well because although she's got this attachment, she's not that far away. Aston Villa are a very good side. Don't make our scorelines against them last year, we thrashed them at home 9-0. That was a lot of rotation on their part and a few injuries. We beat them 4-1 quite recently.
Yeah.
They are a good side, and I think they saw in that game that they needed extra people in that midfield to help Rachel Daly become more of a striker, because she was all over the place apart from up front where they really needed her. So for Aston Villa, Jordon Nobbs is going to be huge. She's going to be so influential. 18-month contract with a chance to extend on that, which is going to be huge. Just on that as well, it's not just all the fans that are going to be interesting. I'm just going to do the square screen now.
Yeah.
It's things like this where she was happy to have photos with the fans and be able to say hello. That this was actually during the after the Everton game, where she scored her 50th for the club.
I remember calling it. Yeah, I remember doing that.
That was her first, the first time I've actually been able to get near her and say talk to her. And she was a fantastic player. She was so great technically. And if I'm honest, if I look on it, I think she's going to be a dark horse for that England squad, but she's going to be needed. She's got the experience, almost like Jill Scott was at the Euros. I think Jordon will probably be in a better situation now, because not only has she got the chance to play the full minutes that she wants, she'll get more game time as well.
Yeah.
I'll just stop sharing now for the moment.
Yeah, no worries, mate. That's cool.
But she's a brilliant player. It's not just that. You look at some of the goals that she scores, like the game. Funny enough, the home game against Zurich that actually won the women's goal of the season, goal of the year. Sorry. It was a great finish. The fact that it was the way she had to adjust her body and it manages to go over into the crossbar and down over the goalkeeper. That was just fantastic. And I think she knows that she's got those sort of things in her locker. There's so many videos you can go back. There was a free kick about, oh God, I'm going to say about 50 yards out against Man City.
I've just seen that about 10 minutes ago as I was just having a look through some stuff. It was a wonderful hit. I know. Is that during lockdown period time? Yeah.
Yeah. It was a fantastic free kick. And
yeah, wonderful.
There are things like that you look at and go, well, you've got a heck of a player on it. And I think it's also kind of telling that you've got people like Rachel Daly and Jordon Nobbs now and obviously Jill Scott as well, who've now moved to Aston Villa. That Aston Villa are an up-and-coming team, and they need these sorts of experienced people to be with her. But I think everyone is in the same boat. Like, if it was to end, at least she's gone out on her terms. She hasn't gone out causing any problems. She's, even in her letter, I kind of looked at that and I'm still tearing up a little bit now.
I can see that. Oh, bless you.
But yeah, this is what clubs do. This is what, well, not clubs, but this is what certain people do. If they're playing for the shirt and playing, you'll remember the name of the backers, Tony Adams and everyone else likes to write about. But they're just so fantastic to watch. I mean, around that time, we would have had, around that period that she joined, you would have had Steph Horton, Jill Scott, Beth Mead would have just about came in a couple of years later. And we sort of developed them, and you now see them off with Man City, or they've retired, or they've become almost world beaters on their own, and it's just huge. And now it seems like we've got no northern players in apart from Beth anymore, so it kind of feels like we need to find some soon so that Beth's got some more northern friends. But it is what it is. But honestly, Jordon was a fantastic servant for the club. She's everything that you would have wanted in a midfielder. And whatever happens next, the fact that she's gone to Aston Villa, she's going to smash it out of the park, and
She's going to do brilliant, isn't she?
yeah,
Yeah.
she's going to do a fantastic job, and hopefully, I think everyone's wishing that she does go to the World Cup this time, because
Well, she deserves it, doesn't she? Absolutely right. Just to bring it sort of right back, so you know there might be people who are tuning into our stream right now who might not have seen an awful lot of WSL footage and stuff like that. Kind of explain, if you can, what sort of a dynamic sort of midfield player she was. What could you sort of almost compare her to someone that some of her who wouldn't have watched the WSL too much?
yeah, I think it's quite hard because she was such a good all rounder. She was very box to box at times, but she wouldn't. But when she was finishing something from outside the box. So almost like I'm trying to. It's almost like a crossbreed about 3 or 4 different players that I could probably say, like a Jack Wilshere, for example, and Thomas Rosicki, Lucas Podolski. I like to score goals from outside the box. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain as well. He liked to, although he started out as a winger as well. But Jordan, although she plays centrally, she can almost play on the wing. Well, she did actually play on the right wing for a spell after Beth's injury. And then, but her main role is in that central midfield, and she offers so much. Just not just able to her pass, she's very able to get around. She's not just this one-trick pony. She's got 3 or 4 tricks in her sleeve, and she's a really well-rounded footballer. But it is hard to say for certain. If there was one footballer I could pick out who she like, it seems a lot like the. If I had to pick any of the other women's players, I'd have to pick about 4 or 5 different players, because that's how similar they are. Because it's almost like crossbreeding cross.
Yeah, you got the absolute right word. I mean, hybrid, technical player, touch was fantastic, vision was wonderful, and you could, you know, she's just almost like having a radar. If you go broad with it, and I mean, she could spot everything, and she's a player that, I mean, as you know, when I started Cannon Chat, it's almost a year since I started doing YouTube. That's mad, isn't it? So and I started watching, and she was a name, one of them few names that I would have known and seen quite a lot anyway. But you go and you get attached to watching. You do feel like the fondness that we have of in the men's side, the Howland boys and all that sort of thing. When you see someone who's been at the club, that longevity of that amount of time, it's and that respect you have for that person. And when you get the news like she's actually gone, it's like, oh, it's like, oh goodness me, that came out of absolutely nowhere. But what I will say, there's 2 things I want to add to this. I do hope absolutely she's over the injury troubles that have certainly dogged her over the last sort of year or so, which like we mentioned earlier on, she missed the Euro Championships, and you know, her Aston Villa are an improving side, as we mentioned. Likes of Rachel Daly up there as well, who's a hybrid player herself, to be fair. How many players do you know play fullback for England and then go play centre forward? She's just an incredible player.
You'd probably say is probably Bukayo Saka could probably do that, but
yeah, absolutely. But I think we'll just sort of. There's 2 things I just want to wish her all the very best over there at Aston Villa, and I'll do the quote which I've taken off from the Arsenal website earlier on today. This is from Edu Gaspar, who just says, Jordan's been a wonderful servant to Arsenal Football Club over the last 12 years. She's written her name in Arsenal history books and forged a deep connection with our loyal supporters. We'd like to wish Jordan health, happiness, and success on and off the pitch in the future. She's a member of the Arsenal family for life. And I think we'll look forward to seeing her as a guest at some stage. I know she'll be welcome at Meadow Park any day, and she'll get that rousing reception that she so rightly deserves.
Yeah, the funny thing on that is that one of our next games will be in the League Cup. It is against Aston Villa at home, so she will be able to return to Meadow Park. And
Goodness me, that's going to come around quick then, isn't it? I
last
didn't
day,
realise that, Matt.
yeah,
Wow.
last day of the season as well is at home to Aston Villa as well. I've already got my ticket, so that's one extra person that is there that will. But there's going to be a lot of reception for
It's going to
Jordan.
be an emotional day. That's
Yeah,
going to be
it's
an emotional day, that's for sure, mate.
especially if there's a title on the line as well, it will be very much a very interesting one, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, I think what we'll do now, we'll sort of move into the second third of this episode, if you like, and we'll just have a little look back on the men's game, the 0-0 draw the other night after the maybe the anger has gone a little bit. I can tell you from my end. A frustrating 0-0 draw against Newcastle United the other night, and a little bit of fan reaction after. We've got to bear in mind this is the first points that we've dropped. A couple of points that we've dropped at home all season. I think the first thing I want to we knew the I think actually I've still got the banner here probably. That was the lineup. It was the unchanged lineup that played from, if that goes on the screen, that would be nice.
Okay.
There we go. Um, it'll get there eventually. Just needs to warm up a little bit and crank on a little bit. There we go. So yeah, it was the unchanged lineup that played against Brighton and Hove Albion and were very, very quick off the mark. I don't think we would have expected many changes at all. There's as the game later showed, the lack of thereof options on the bench was probably a bit of a concern in the end. But yeah, as far as the game goes itself, Arsenal started very brightly, I felt. But I think we have to give Newcastle an awful lot of credit for how well organised their defenders were and how well they, Almiron particularly and Joe Linton on the other side, protected their fullbacks and made it very difficult for Arsenal going forward.
Yeah, and to be honest, Newcastle have been one of those teams that you would have thought, okay, they're sort of in their project at the moment, similar to us. Let's see what happens. And they seem, well, by their league position at the moment, they're well ahead of where they should be, considering that when Man City originally had that money, they were spending it on players to build them up and get them into where they wanted to be and then to push on from there.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it seems like they've almost excelled a little bit more and they're actually well ahead of their time at the moment. And that is a scary thought at the moment. But when I saw Eddie Howe go into Newcastle, I knew that it wasn't going to be one of those. It wasn't going to be just one simple thing. It's going to be he's going to set everything up. He's going to make sure that everything runs smoothly. He's going to get the players that he wants in. I can't remember how many they got in January. This time, last time in January, it was about 4 or 5 players in, including Kieran Trippier, and yeah, that kind of experience has helped them build so much. Again, I'll go back to that game against Tranmere, losing 1-0 at the time, and it could have been a lot worse for them. And then they bring on Kieran Trippier, and Trippier ends up helping them get the 2 goals, and that's how key people like that are. But you're talking about how the wingers as well help defend, and it was that block, that very low block that they had, which some people will say is quite difficult to play against. It is quite difficult, but if you're playing on a counter, what you can't do is you can't afford to slow it down and then wait for others to go, because that then allows them to get in position. All we need, all that needed to happen is get that three touches, maximum 3 touches, passing it. A lot of times I was counting, some of the players were passing it backwards and sideways, and it was just like they're passing it for the sake of passing instead of looking to move the play forward. And that was the frustrating thing. I think it kind of felt like they panicked a little bit as well, which was a real shame, because obviously there was the one chance that we had, Eddie and Kessia.
Yeah, right. Yes, yeah.
What kind of annoyed me about that was that if that was either side of him, that's in. But it's gone straight. I think it hit his chest or something like that.
I think it hit his left boot, didn't it? Nick Pope
yes.
had a fantastic save in there.
So a little bit higher, a little bit further away from the keeper, that's in. But again, I know you and Bertie have this the penalties situation.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it. I mean, there was two incidents, wasn't there? There was one, looking back, sort of after rewatching the game a little bit. I think the shirt tug, was that Dan Burn? I think, wasn't it?
Yes,
it's probably more of a penalty than the one that was right at the end of the game. What did you think?
The shirt pull, 100%, it's always a penalty because you've seen it given. It's not just that. You go back to places like, I remember England versus Panama. We got about all three of our penalty. Well, two of them. Yeah, we got about 3 penalties because they were shirt pulling and pulling players around. And you would have thought around this time people would stop doing that, but they're still doing it. But they're getting away with it. How does that work when you considering VAR? What are they looking at? Is the question. And at the end of the day, it's another. I know that ESPN had like a list of 8 VAR misuses, and we'll go back to the United game that was disallowed. There was a few
goal. Yeah,
there was a few others on that list, and now they're going to probably add to that the game against Newcastle United where Dan Burns has pulled Gabriel to the floor. I understand if the linesman hasn't seen it. I understand if the referee hasn't seen it, but that's why VAR's there. VAR can turn around and say, look, you missed something, but you need to I want you to go and have a look at it.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be we're going to overturn it. My thought is when it comes to VAR, unless it's like an offside or anything like that, where they can say for definite, yeah, it was definitely offside, this, that, the other. The idea would be that they go to the counter so they can actually see from certain perspectives where it was. And I think that's one of the issues I have with the second penalty, with the second one, which was it was down on his side. The thing I have with it, although he's got his arm up, it hits his hand. No doubt about it.
It was very close, wasn't he?
Yeah, although was
it Xhaka who played the ball in, and I know Xhaka was right in the middle of it, and he's literally shouting. But I felt when I was watching it live, and this is when me and Bertie really disagreed, but respectively, it's all good. That I felt it was too close for him to give a penalty decision. Bertie felt differently. He's saying it was a clear penalty, but it sounds like you're probably nearing my sort of side on this one.
I think the problem is okay, he's gone to ground to try and block it, but because he's blocked it, his arm's in the way. And I think the problem Bertie has is that because it's hit his arm, it's an instant penalty, which I get. That was my feeling, that if it hits your arm, no matter what, it's a penalty. It should always be a penalty. Right. But then you see things at the World Cup where Messi goes and handballs it for no reason, gets unpunished for it. And then you see, funny enough, in that final against Argentina, I can't remember who had that shot. Similar sort of situation. He is trailing and it hits exactly the same part of his arm.
Yeah.
That's a penalty. Now, that's the problem, is that there is no there's inconsistently consistent refereeing. Both.
Brilliant. I'm gonna clip that. That's funny.
Both VAR and the refereeing, but you can only go so far. And if I'm looking back, I think if we would have got one penalty, I'd been fine with that. But I think it's a grey area, because obviously he's gone to ground and he can't really move his arm, which I kind of understand where Gary Neville is. But under the new laws, it should be a handball and it should have been a penalty.
Okay, fair enough. I suppose moving away from the handball instances as well, I think we probably should point out that we did actually get a point in the game. We didn't actually lose the game, and there were a couple of instances, especially with Callum Wilson there, that they Newcastle themselves could have actually run away and pinched all 3 points from us.
Yeah, and it seems a bit odd to see that, but the fact that Newcastle came to almost like they were a team that came up from the Championship. Maybe it was like, for example, first game of the season away to the Emirates. They put that low block in. They said, "Hey, come and have a go at us, and then we'll go and counter you." But yeah, it was a difficult game, and the way that they blocked and everything, they could have quite easily had the 3 points. But at the end of it, Ramsdale made some. I nearly said Ramsey then. I don't know why. Ramsdale made some fantastic saves, and especially when he was dealing with the one-on-ones, he wasn't. It was almost unstoppable. A couple of times I remember him rushing up the other towards the middle of the pitch, trying to clear the balls and things like that. So it was nice to see him actually not just staying on this line like you'd see in the past. That would happen with some previous goalkeepers. He's actually being more active in the game, and it was at the same time it was a very stressful watch. But if you're a neutral, I think you kind of embrace the chaos.
Yeah, it was chaos as well, wasn't it?
A very chaotic game.
It was funny as well, that last sort of 5 minutes or so, when it was literally kitchen sink time.
Yeah.
And it could have gone either way. I suppose one point that's really been brought up and really been emphasised at the moment is there was only one substitution made in the whole game, and it was right back, Tomiyasu for White, which again, some of the fans, I'll say, in some of the WhatsApp groups that I certain happen to be in, not our one, but if you have a look around, people kind of forget, that we've actually done quite well this season, and it's sort of almost like a knee-jerk reaction to it, if you know what I mean.
I think I do follow Charles Watts as well, and I think a lot of that was because everyone is now getting used to almost like that 2000 early 2000s where we're winning, everything's good, we're getting into a title challenge for ourselves, which is always nice and positive. It's almost that mindset again, and then as soon as you draw a game, you go back to a very negative view. Whereas a game like this a couple of years ago, you would imagine Newcastle would have probably, had they played like that, Newcastle would have probably won that 3-0.
Definitely.
Again, actually, funny enough, I did find some stats on the game. See if I can get it.
I think I know where you're going to go with this one. So you can bask in your glory on this one, my friend. But it's a really interesting fact as well. I mean, we talk about, during the World Cup about how much like added on time would have been played during the matches.
Yeah.
But as and when Matt can bring this up, the amount of time wasting that was done and the amount of ball in play, I thought was extraordinary.
So from Opta, there was actually 51 minutes and 23 seconds. So of actual time the ball was in play, which means that essentially that you could have added another 40 minutes into that game. I still don't think anyone would have scored, but it seems very odd. To be honest, the 5 minutes seemed very low for me, and I didn't understand that. I was probably expecting an 8. I wasn't, because usually when things like that happen, or if there's an injury, you get the 8 minutes. It wasn't going to be like a World Cup where they turn around and go, "Oh yeah, it's going to be 12 minutes at the end of this" or something like that. It would have made sense for me. But the fact is that the problem I did have as well was that Nick Pope was going around wasting with every goal kick, and you would have thought after the second or third time they would have look, if you do that again, you're getting carded.
Yeah.
And it seems to be at the moment, whenever you're a goalkeeper, you're taking time with a goal kick, anything like that. You're not being told to hurry up or anything like that. They get away
unless you're Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah, and that's another thing as well. It's a lot of I think a lot of people have talked about Saka has had 4 yellow cards this season.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's been fouled the most, but none of them have led to others being carded, which is a bit of an oddity because a lot of the time they are really bad challenges. They're
Yeah.
usually studs up um, or going about near on the shin, which is borderline to a red card.
Yeah.
But I just find it odd because if you look at other teams when they do that, it is usually a booking. But all
Yeah.
this, I'm not saying there's a gender, but it just seems odd to be when it is other teams and other players doing it. Some players get away with it, others don't. There needs to be again consistency rather than inconsistency. Consistency.
Yeah. Gotcha. But just sort of wrapping up the Newcastle thing, and I do want to make sure we do give the Magpies plenty of credit because
Mm.
I'm not a ranter, I'm not a raver, not on a Thursday night anyway. But you know, you could see why they're doing so well in the league. You can see why they were 12 and I think they're now 13 games unbeaten. So, you know, you've got to say well done, Eddie Howe. He's doing an incredible job up there. And this is the only the beginning of their project over there. They're only going to increase the depth of their squad, I'm pretty sure, if not in this dreaded January window, which I know a lot of us are not fans of. But certainly over in the summer, especially if they keep on progressing, keep on threatening not just European football but Champions League football as well.
Yeah, and I think their aim was European football. I don't think they were expecting Champions League. I think it was perhaps because of how badly Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham have just been so bad that they basically Newcastle have just walked up because they've been able to get these stretch runs, and it'll be a case of how far can they go before someone can get that win against them. That again, it will be interesting to see how it goes because it'll be very close, but it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I was just listening to Sky earlier, just before we were on, and they were saying that they're looking for a right back to compete with Kieran Trippier, someone a bit younger than he is, so that they can almost learn from him, and then he can take it over when Kieran Trippier goes. Yeah. That's the sort of players that they're looking at and trying to keep on going. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do in the window. But again, they're looking at other players as well. I think they'll only bring about 2 players in. Whereas you look at some of the other clubs in the top, in that not 1 to 6 at the moment. I think the only one that won't be making any moves is Man City. But whereas you'll see Liverpool trying to make moves, you'll see Chelsea trying to make moves, or Chelsea trying to. They have no real targets. Let's just say that, and they'll just keep on trying to nick everyone else.
Splashing everyone.
Yeah, and apparently he's nearly spent 400 million since his takeover, and that's just on.
My God,
players up to now. So it's almost like they're trying. That's a different topic though, but
yeah,
there are levels to it, and the fact that Eddie Howe has been so successful in just saying, not being over saying, okay, I've got unlimited money, I want this, this, and this. He's just said, right, okay, what do I need for now? What can I do for in the short term? So a player like Kieran Trippier, player like Dan Burns, player like Matt Targett, and they're the players that are going to help them build up because they've got the Premier League experience, because they've got international experience, and because they can build further up. And sooner or later, you will probably see some of these Newcastle players perhaps looking at playing internationally for England, and because they'll probably be seen as better options than a Luke Shaw, for example, or Joe Willock will probably end up. Hope, fingers crossed, will be in that England squad well ahead of Jordan Henderson.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. I mean, we're talking about a different generation now, aren't we? Who's certainly the Willock versus Henderson. I quite like that comparison, actually. Former Arsenal boy, of course. But yeah, so we'll move away from Newcastle, and I think we'll sort of finish off by just briefly looking forward to Monday's FA Cup tie. I've got to say, I love the FA Cup. It's one of the things that I look forward to every single year. And third round starts for us away at Oxford United. Now, I'm not going to pretend to you that I know absolutely everything about Oxford United, because I don't. But what I do think would be good to ask you is, obviously with us, in the overall picture, we're looking at the 8 points clear at the top of the table, with Europa League still to play along with as well. How strong do you think Mikel will go with his team lineup to send out to Oxford on Monday night?
Oof. Well, this is the thing: is you're going to want a team to be able to compete. You don't want to see a replicant where you see it over in the past, where Arsenal have gone out and lost these of the round three. Ideally, for me, realistically, the manager needs to get a trophy. Whether title challenge is there. That's going to be there, but there's all a chance that it can slip up, which means that realistically, got knocked out of the League Cup, and that was probably for the best for the club anyway, because we would have had to come back and play. I don't know who Brighton ended up playing, but it was going to be a difficult schedule to keep up. So it made sense to sort of just say, look, guys, you don't need to win this game tonight. Just go out there and just give it your best, but don't give it 100%. I know it sounds hot. It sounds random, but I think that we kind of knew that we just wanted the game over and done with. We didn't really want the actual game. But against Oxford, if I'm honest, it's a chance to not only look at other people such as Matt Turner coming in, playing in goal. I imagine that would be the case. It's a chance for other players, maybe some of the younger ones in the squad, to turn up and give it a go. There are some players that kind of need to be there with. So I imagine it's going to be like a rotated squad, but it'll be maybe some of the players that are just coming back, like a Tomiyasu, Zinchenko playing, or Kieran Tierney. I would imagine maybe Kieran Tierney might.
Yeah, I think they'll probably switch left back, definitely.
And then you've got the case of who would you want in the midfield? There's the central defence.
I would think, me personally, I think he'll probably play Holding and Gabriel. Gabriel, because of course he didn't play in the World Cup.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at the likes of perhaps Lokonga. You're looking the likes of maybe Emil Smith-Rowe if he's good to go. If not from the start, if he could be on the bench, that would be great, because we know he is back in training. And you look the likes of Fabian Vieira.
Yeah,
that'll be a good shout. I suppose the other one, Marquinhos. Yeah, the jinx. We said it at the same time. I suppose being that we don't have an awful lot of striking options, as is widely known, until Modric actually signs up, or we do have Eddie, of course. There was the young lad, wasn't there? I mean, and I see if I can find his name. Connor, what was his name? No, Nathan Butler. Ojay, I think his name was. The young lad who was on the substitutes bench the other day. You never know; he might get a run out himself. Is there anything else? Oh, of course. Who's the young 15-year-old that was playing as well? Can you remember his name?
Oh, no.
You know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah, I'll have to.
If you don't know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll move on from it. But it's like you did say, it is an opportunity for some of the younger players to come in, perhaps get some minutes when they wouldn't normally get some first team action.
Ethan Numwary.
That's the fella. Yeah, I've got to say, 10 out of 10 on your pronunciation as well, mate. Thank you for that. Nicely done. So, so I think that more or less wraps us up for what we're going to do with for today. What I was kind of thinking is, because doing the live watch along situation that late at night with my little girl might prove life a little bit difficult. But what I'm kind of thinking, and I haven't talked this through with anybody yet, but if it's just me, it's just me. What I might do on the Monday night, I might come on, do a post-match show, we'll have a little chat and see what's gone on, and if there's any other news following that for over the weekend, we'll run that on the show on Monday night after the match.
If
So
I'm right as well, we've got it'll be the FA Cup next round as well. So
the fourth round draw as well, yeah.
yeah, it'll be the fourth round draw as well.
Well, what I'll probably do, we'll keep tabs on that. I'll make sure as I'm just going to subtly press a couple of buttons, make sure I can find my banners. There we go. So what I will do, I'm going to turn that one off there. So when I set up a stream, which I'm sure I will do in the next couple of days, I'll definitely put it on the Gooner Gathering Twitter page. You'll find it on my one as well, which is at Gooner Lee Meads. Matt, would you like to give your Twitter out while we're here?
Yeah, it's at MattLR28.
Thank you very much, sir. Of course, if you want my regular co-host as well, Posh Bertie, there he is, Posh Bertie there. Matt, thank you very much for popping on tonight and having a little chat. I've really enjoyed our little discussion, and
enjoyed it too.
It's been a good stream, mate. So cheers for popping on, and anyone who's either watching us live now or watching us on demand, thank you so much. Like, share, and subscribe, and share the stream around as much as you can. We've managed to nearly hit 50 subscribers, unbelievably. So cheers for supporting the channel, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks very much for joining us. See you later. Bye-bye.